あなた方の人生において、最も重要な集大成ともいえる晩年の輝かせ方について、私、田中角栄が魂を込めて、お話をさせていただきます。さて本日のテーマは、晩年であります。50代、60代、70代、あるいはそれ以上、この言葉を聞いて、あなた方の心には今、どのような感情が浮かんでおられるでしょうか。もうそんな年かという、一末の寂しさでしょうか。これから何が待ち受けているのかという、漠然とした不安でしょうか。健康のこと、お金のこと、あるいは孤独のこと、世間に目を向ければ、晩年というものを、何かネガティブな、終わりの始まりのように語る声が、あまりにも多すぎる。私はそれを非常に、残念に思うものであります。断言いたします。もしあなたが、もう年だからという一言で、自分自身の可能性に、蓋をしてしまっているのであれば、それこそがあなたの人生から、輝きを奪う、唯一にして最大の原因なのであります。私はこれまで、政治の世界、あるいはそれ以外の場所で、数えきれないほどの人間の、生き様と死に様を、この目で見てまいりました。若くして頂点を、極めた人間、晩年になってなお、凄まじい光を放ち続けた人間、そして残念ながら、かつてはあれほど輝いていたにもかかわらず、晩年は誰からも見向きもされず、ただ不平と不満と後悔だけを口にして、寂しく枯れていった人間、その両方であります。その差は、一体何だったのか、生まれか、才能か、財産か、違います。断じて違います。晩年になってなお、その輝きを増していく人間、周りの人々が、まるで冬の寒い日に、焚き火に手をかざしに集まるかのように、自然とその人の周りに、集まってくる。そういう温かい光のような人間、そういう方々には、例外なく共通する、いくつかの生き方の原則があった。彼らが人生の、どの段階からか、意識的にあるいは無意識的に、捨て去ってきたものがあったのであります。今日はその、最も重要な核心部分だけを、皆様方にお伝えしたい。もしあなたの人生が今、少しでも停滞していると、感じているのなら、もしこれから先の人生を、本当に心から充実させ、輝かせたいと、心の底から願うのであれば、今日この話だけは、どうか真剣に聞いていただきたい。まず晩年を輝かせたいと願うなら、あなたが今この瞬間、真っ先に捨て去るべきもの、それは過去の栄光という名の、誇りまみれの勲章であります。どうでしょうか。心当たりがありませんか。私が若い頃は、こうだった。あの時私がどれだけ、大変な大事業を成し遂げたか。昔はみんな、私の言うことを聞いたものだ。立派なご経歴でしょう。血の滲むような、努力をされてきたことでしょう。それは誰も、否定しません。あなたご自身が一番、よくご存知のはずです。ですがあえて、厳しく申し上げます。その過去の手柄話を、今この瞬間に一体、誰が聞きたいと思っているでしょうか。その輝かしいはずの過去の勲章は、今この瞬間、あなたの明日の人生を、1ミリでも前に進める力になっているでしょうか。世の中には、2種類の人間がおります。過去の勝利の余韻に、浸り続ける人間と、今日の新しい勝負に、挑み続ける人間です。晩年になって、枯れていく人間の、典型的な特徴。それは会話の9割が、昔話になることです。それはなぜか、答えは簡単です。今日、生きていないからです。今この瞬間が、充実していないからです。語るべき今がないから、仕方がなく、もう色あせてしまった。過去のアルバムをめくり返すしかない。ですが皆様方、そんな過去の美しい、しかしもう二度と戻らない、思い出のお酒だけで、これからの長い人生を、本当に酔って過ごすことができるのでしょうか。それは実に、寂しいことではありませんか。わかります。過去に大きなことを成し遂げた人間ほど、その成功体験から抜け出すことは難しい。そのかつての自分があまりにも輝かしいために、今の何も肩書きがなくなった自分を受け入れることが怖い。それは人間の 自然な感情かもしれません。しかし、よくお聞きください。人生の本当の勝負というものは、昨日ホームランを打ったかどうか、ではありません。今日この瞬間、たとえ泥にまみれようとも、バッターボックスに立とうとしているか、どうかなのです。ただ、それだけなのです。昨日どれだけ素晴らしいホームランを打ったとしても、今日の打席には何の関係もありません。今日またゼロからピッチャーと対峙し、バットを振らなければならない。空振りするかもしれない。みっともない三振に倒れるかもしれない。しかしその勇気ある空振りを、一体誰が笑うことができるでしょうか。それどころか、バッターボックスに立とうともせず、観客席や評論家席から、今のピッチャーは、なってない。わしの若い頃は、もっとすごい球を投げた。などと安全な場所から、批評だけをしている人間。そういう人間をあなたは、心から尊敬することができますか。そういう晩年を、あなたは送りたいと思いますか。思うはずが、ありません。晩年が輝く人間は、違います。彼らは昨日、何を成し遂げたかなど、当の昔に忘れています。彼らの興味関心は、ただ一つ、今日この残された一日を、どう使い切るか。今目の前にいるこの人に、自分は一体何ができるか。その一点に、集中しています。過去の勲章は、立派な額縁に入れて、蔵にしまいなさい。そしてもう二度と、振り返らないことです。あなたが進むべき道は、後ろにはありません。前に、あるのです。今日この瞬間から始まる未来にしか、あなたの輝ける場所は、ないのです。次にあなたが、捨てるべきもの、それは損得感情という名の、冷たいそろばんであります。これは人間関係における、最も重要な極意です。晩年になってなぜか、人が潮が引くように、周りからいなくなってしまう人間がいます。地位も財産も名誉も、手に入れたはずなのに、気がつけば自分の周りには、誰もいない。誕生日を心から、祝ってくれる友人もいない。風邪をひいたとき、心から心配してくれる家族もいない。これほど悲惨な人生の終わり方があるでしょうか。なぜこうなってしまったのか。それはその人が人生のどこかで、あるいは人生のすべてにおいて、人間関係を損か得かだけで計算し判断し、生きてきた何よりの証拠なのであります。この人物と付き合えば、自分にどんなメリットがあるか。この会合に出れば、どんな得があるか。こいつに恩を売っておけば、いくらになって帰ってくるか。その頭の中は常に、そろばんでいっぱいです。人間を心ある、生身の存在としてではなく、自分の目的を達成するための、道具あるいは数字としてしか見ていない。そういう冷たい、計算高い人間の周りには、当然のことながら、同じように冷たい、計算高い人間しか集まってはきません。そして人生の後半戦、あなたの肩書きがなくなり、権力がなくなり、そしてお金を生み出す力が衰えたその瞬間、つまりあなたから得られるものがなくなったと判断されたその瞬間、彼らは雲の子を散らすように一斉にあなたの前から姿を消します。当たり前の話ではありませんか。彼らにとってあなたはもはや利用価値のない道具になり下がったのですから。晩年を本当に輝かせたい、温かい人間関係の中で過ごしたいと願うのであれば、今すぐその頭の中のそろばんを叩き割りなさい。そして理屈や計算ではなく、ただひたすらに目の前の人間の腹と心を満たすことだけを考えなさい。人間、腹が減っては戦はできません。これは胃袋の話だけではありません。心がひもじいのです。現代人は皆、心が渇ききって、ひもじい思いをしている。誰かに認めてもらいたい。誰かに本気で叱ってもらいたい。誰かに心の底から、大丈夫だと背中を押してもらいたい。目の前にそういう、心が腹を空かせた若者がいるのなら、部下がいるのなら、あるいは家族がいるのなら、理屈はいりません。説教もいりません。まずは温かい飯を腹いっぱい食わせることです。そしてその乾いた心をあなたの人間としての情で温めてやることです。 何をしょげている。大丈夫だ。あんたの苦労は、わしが一番は買っとる。まあ理屈はいいから、これでも食え。その一言が、その一杯のお酒が、どれほどその人間の心を救うか、どれほどその人間の未来を照らすか。見返りなど求めてはいけません。あの時食わせてやったじゃないかなどと恩着せがましいことを言ったその瞬間に、あなたの積んだ徳はすべて消えてなくなります。人間にかけてあげた情というものはな、銀行預金よりも確実な貯金なのです。ただしその通帳はあなたの手元にはありません。天がすべて記録しています。そしてあなたがすっかり忘れたその頃に、あなたが人生で本当に困ったその最後の土壇場において、思いもよらない人物が思いもよらない形でとんでもない利息をつけてその恩を返しにやってくる。これが宇宙の法則であり、人間社会の真理であります。晩年というのは残酷なまでにその徳の貯金残高が明らかになる時期なのです。お金や物はあの世には一円たりとも持ってはいけません。しかしあなたが誰かにかけてあげた温かい情と、あなたが誰かからいただいたありがとうという感謝の言葉だけは、あなたの魂に深く深く刻み込まれ、永遠に消えることはありません。あなたの周りを見渡してごらんなさい。あなたの周りには温かい焚き火がありますか？あなた自身がその温かい焚き火になっていますか？計算ばかりしている冷たい氷の塊になっていませんか？晩年を輝かせるのは金でも地でもありません。ただ人間としての情の深さ、ただそれだけであります。そして三つ目、あなたが捨てるべきもの、それは口先だけの立派な言い訳であります。これは人間としての信用に関わる根幹の話です。晩年を輝かせたいなら評論家になるな、実行者であれ。これにつきます。世の中には驚くほど多くの評論家がおります。口を開けば実に立派なことを言う。理想を語り、未来を語り、そして他人の行動を批判する。しかしその本人が今日この瞬間、一体何をしているのかと問えば、何一つ実行してはいない。いつかやる。そのうち考える。わしに任せろ。そう言い続けて、10年20年が経っている。そういう口先ばかりが達者な人間をあなたは心の底から信用できますか？そういう人間にあなたの大切な未来を任せることができますか？できるはずがありません。人間が人生の最後に拠り所とするものは何か、それはその人間が何を言ったかでは断じてありません。その人間が何をやったか、その行動の積み重ね、その事実、ただ一つであります。特に晩年になれば、なおさらです。あなたがかつて、どんな立派な会社の社長であったとか、どんな偉い地位にあったとか、そういう肩書きはすべて、剥がれ落ちていきます。最後に残るのは、何か、あの人はやると言ったことは、たとえそれがどんなに小さな約束であっても、必ず実行する人だった、というたった一つの事実。これこそが信用という名の、金では決して買うことができない、人生最大の財産なのであります。そしてこの信用という財産は、一朝一夕では、絶対に築くことはできません。それはまるで毎日毎日、地味なレンガを、一つ積んでいくような作業です。誰が見ているわけでも、ないかもしれない。誰が褒めてくれるわけでも、ないかもしれない。雨の日も風の日も、ただ黙々と、自分と交わした約束のレンガを一つ積む。多くの人間はこの地味な作業をバカにします。面倒くさがります。もっと手っ取り早く城を建てる方法はないかとずるいことばかりを考える。そして口先で立派な城の設計図ばかりを人前で自慢する。私はこんなすごい城を建てるのだと。しかし実行が伴わない設計図などただの紙切れです。一陣の風が吹けばどこかへ飛んで行っておしまいです。晩年になってあの人は昔立派なことばかり言っていたが結局何一つ残さなかったなと陰で笑われる。これほど惨めな人生の終わり方があるでしょうか。 私はそういう生き方を断じて認めません。大きなことを成し遂げる必要はありません。まずは今日、今この瞬間にできる一番小さな約束を守ることです。家族と交わした些細な約束、部下に後でやっておくと言ったあの仕事、そして何よりも一番難しい自分自身と交わした約束です。毎朝少し散歩する、一日一行でも本を読む、寝る前に感謝の言葉を口にする、そういう誰にも言っていない自分だけの小さな約束を踏みにじるな。自分に嘘をつくな。自分との約束一つ守ることができずに、どうして他人の信用を勝ち取ることができるでしょうか。どうして晩年が輝くことがありましょうか。評論家をやめなさい。今すぐ実行者になりなさい。今日あなたが一歩踏み出したその地味な一歩が10年後20年後のあなたの輝く晩年を支える揺るぎない土台となるのであります。そして4つ目、これはあなたの心の在り方そのものに関わる話です。あなたが捨てるべきもの、それはもう年だからというその一言であります。この言葉、これこそがあなたの人生の可能性を根底から腐らせる最も強力な毒であります。もう年だから新しいことは覚えられない。もう年だから若い人のようにはいかない。もう年だからわしの出番は終わった。この言葉を口にしたその瞬間、あなたの人生は止まります。いや、後退を始めます。流れを失った水がその場によどみ、やがて腐っていくのと全く同じであります。いいですか、皆様方。人間は死ぬその瞬間まで成長できる生き物なのです。昨日知らなかったことを今日一つ知る。昨日できなかったことが今日少しでもできるようになる。その喜び、その知的な興奮、それこそが命が生きている何よりの証拠ではありませんか。晩年が輝いている人間は例外なく好奇心の塊です。その目はまるで子供のようにキラキラと輝いています。へえ、今はそんなことになっているのか。面白い。私にもそれを教えてくれないか。彼らは自分の年齢や経験を一切言い訳にしません。知らないことを恥とは思わず、学べることを喜びとするのです。逆に枯れていく人間の特徴は何か。わしの時代はこうだった。近頃の若いもんはなっとらん。昔のやり方が一番だ。これです。この言葉が出始めたらもうおしまいです。自分が一番正しい。自分の経験こそが全てだ。そう思ったその瞬間からその人間の魂は急速に老い錆びついていきます。肉体の老いは誰にも止めることはできません。しかし魂の老いはあなたの心がけ一つでいくらでも防ぐことができるのです。あなたがこれまで積み上げてこられた経験や知恵、それはもちろん何者にも代え難い尊い財産です。しかしそれだけでは足りないのです。時代は我々の想像を超えるスピードで変化し続けています。あなたのその尊い知恵や経験を古い化石にしてはなりません。その知恵を新しい時代の文脈でどう生かすか、どう若い世代に伝えていくか、それを考え実行するためにはあなた自身が学び続けなければならないのです。ではどうすればいいか。答えは実に簡単です。自分よりも若い人間の話を謙虚に聞くことです。若いもんに教えを請うなどプライドが許さんなどと、そういうちっぽけなくだらないプライドは今すぐゴミ箱に捨てなさい。そんなプライドがあなたの晩年を輝かせてくれるでしょうか。くれるはずがありません。年長者の持つ深い洞察力と経験、そして若者の持つ突拍子もない情熱と新しい知識、この二つが融合したとき、そこにどえらいエネルギーが生まれるのです。学ぶことをやめた人間はその瞬間に肉体の年齢とは関係なく本当の老人になるのです。あなたの魂を錆びつかせてはなりません。毎日新しい知識で磨きなさい。若い情熱に触れて火をつけなさい。もう年だからではありません。 年を重ねたからこそ、できる勉強がある。年を重ねたからこそ、見える新しい世界がある。そう胸を張って、いただきたい。死ぬその日まで、あなたは現役の学生であり、現役の実行者であるのです。さて、いよいよ最後の話になります。これが今日、私が皆様方に一番伝えたかった結論です。晩年が本当に美しく、まばゆい光を放つ人間、そういう人間が人生の最後の最後に必ず見据えているもの、それは自分が休むことのない木を植えているかどうかということであります。どういう意味かお分かりになりますか？ここに一本の苗木を植えます。毎日水をやり、世話をする。しかし木が育つのは時間がかかります。10年、20年、あるいは50年、100年、やがてその木は立派な大木となり、豊かな枝を広げ、夏の日差しを遮る涼しい木陰を作ってくれるでしょう。しかしその時、その苗木を植えた人間は、もうこの世にはいないかもしれないのです。自分自身が、その涼しい木陰で休むことは、叶わないかもしれないのです。それでもなお、植える。自分のためではなく、まだ見ぬ誰かのために、これができるか、どうか、人生のすべてを、自分のためだけに使ってきた人間、自分が今、楽をすること、自分が今、得をすること、それだけを考えて生きてきた人間、そういう人間は、自分が休むための小さな日傘しか用意しません。そしてその人間が死ねば、そのちっぽけな日傘も一緒に、朽ち果てて終わりです。後に残るものは何もありません。しかし晩年が輝く人間は、根本的に違います。彼らは自分の人生の最後を、自分のためだけに使おうとは思いません。彼らが見ているのは、自分の人生の時間軸をはるかに超えた遠い遠い未来です。自分の子供たち、自分の孫たち、いや、それだけにとどまりません。自分の名前すら知らない、血もつながっていない、100年先、200年先の未来の誰かです。そのまだ見ぬ誰かが、いつかこの道を通るとき、人生の困難という、焼けつくような日差しに苦しんでいるかもしれない。その時もしここに、一本自分が植えた大木があったなら、その木陰が、ほんのひとときでも、その若者の苦しみを、和らげることができるかもしれない。ありがたいと、思ってくれるかもしれない。彼らはただそれを想像し、そして今日この瞬間、ただ黙々と、未来のための苗木を植えるのです。汗を流すのです。皆様方、お金や財産を残すことだけが、未来への貢献ではありません。そんなものは、時代が変われば価値が変わってしまう、あやふやなものです。しかしあなたが、人生をかけて掴み取った知恵は、残せます。あなたが苦しみ悩み、それでも前に進もうとした、その生き様は、残せます。あなたが未来の誰かのために、流した汗と涙、その思いは、時代を超えて必ず、次の世代に受け継がれ、バトンとして渡されていきます。晩年を輝かせる、究極の極意、それは自分という、ちっぽけながを、捨てることです。そして自分よりも、はるかに大きなもの、つまり未来というもの、そのために自分の残された、命の時間を、惜しみなく捧げること、その覚悟を、決めること、その覚悟を決めた人間の目は、深く澄み渡り、その人間の存在そのものが、周りを照らす、温かい光となるのです。これこそが人間が、この世に生を受けた、本当の意味であり、人生最大の喜びであると、私は確信しております。さあ、皆様方、私の言いたいこと、その魂、その確信は、あなた方に届きましたでしょうか。どうかもう晩年という言葉に、怯えるのはおよしなさい。もう終わりだなどと、自分で自分の人生に、レッテルを貼るのはおよしなさい。あなたの人生は、まだ何も終わってはいません。それどころか、本当の本番は、ここから始まるのです。過去の誇りまみれの、勲章を捨てなさい。冷たい損得感情の、そろばんを捨てなさい。口先だけの、言い訳を捨てなさい。もう年だからという、腐った心を捨てなさい。そして何よりも、自分のためという、 ちっぽけながを捨てなさい。理屈ではありません。実行です。今日この話を聞いて、あなたの心が少しでも震えたのであれば、今この瞬間から、あなたの実行を始めていただきたい。あなたが捨てると、覚悟を決めたその瞬間から、あなたが未来のために小さな苗木を植えた、その瞬間から、あなたの本当の人生が始まります。あなたの晩年は、燃え盛る夕焼けのように、まばゆい光を放ち、あなた自身の存在が、周りの人々を照らす、希望の光となるのであります。あなたの人生の集大成は、今ここから始まるのです。共に進んで参りましょう。本日の私の話が、あなたの魂に何かの小さな火を灯すことができたのであれば、幸いです。私たちと共に学び、共に実行し、共に輝く人生を歩んで参ろうではありませんか。
I just have problem with unworthiness and insecurity inside myself. This wasn't a problem before, like when I was younger. I used to be I didn't care what other people think, but slowly what happened was other people, what they thought, and the way I looked around, it just kind of made me feel insecure, and I feel kind of powerless because it feels like I've been born with things that I can't change, like what I've inherited from my parents. So I have this desire to do well in sports, but I have this belief that, genetic-wise, I don't have the ability, even though I do well at it, but it feels I can't take it to another level, if you know what I mean.
Well, it's certain that you cannot take anything to an expansive, fantastic level if at the basis of that which you are is a conscious awareness of unworthiness. We think it's a wonderful thing that you acknowledge that you are feeling sort of unworthy. We want to talk about what that is and why, and more important, what to do about it. So there's a lot we want to say to you, so just relax, and we're going to sort of unravel this in a way that you can really hear it. You said some really interesting things. First of all, you've come to a sort of conclusion that you must feel, or that you do feel, unworthy. And you've come to that conclusion based upon the way things are sort of turning out. Doing okay, but not as dramatically okay as you want. You also said something that was interesting and very common. In fact, almost everyone experiences it to some degree. And that is, in the beginning of your experience, you didn't feel that way. You felt more invincible, more sure-footed, like you could do anything. But then that feeling of confidence eroded over time. And the reason that it eroded over time is for a very simple reason. We're going to lay this out for you in a way that you will really see it. It's because you and almost everybody else you know, they're all doing it to some degree. You let what others were thinking about you and what they reflected back to you, you let that become your opinion, not realizing that they're not really holding you as any constant, steady object of attention. In other words, it's not their job to hold you. It's not their job to buoy you. It is the job of Source. It is the job of your inner being, and it is happening. But if you're looking for that love in all the wrong places, you're not going to find it. And it's a very common thing to look to those that you are living with for their appreciation and their approval, when what you're really wanting to do is feel your way into that alignment from the source within you, who is always there, ready to cheer with you, ready to acknowledge the value of that which you are. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does. It's just hard though, because everywhere you look, it sort of it affirms your unworthiness, if you know what I mean. If you turn on the TV, it's just, I don't know, it's sort of like I'm stuck with a vibration that I can't change. I try really hard to change it as well. Like I try finding better feeling thoughts, but what happens is I just go straight back to where I started off with.
Well, you have to do it a little bit at a time. And you're right. We've talked about this quite a bit, and it certainly applies here, that most people are offering the majority of their vibration, which equals their point of attraction, based upon what they are observing. So when you say, everywhere I look, so what happens is, because you feel a certain way, that's the vibration that you're offering. Because that's the vibration that you're offering, that's what comes back to you. As that comes back to you, it confirms the feeling that you had, which causes you to offer the vibration more. And then, so in the example that we gave about Esther with the car hitting her car, same sort of thing. She's been feeling off her game. She's been feeling less strong and less secure than she has felt over time. She's been feeling sort of vulnerable. That feeling of vulnerability causes her to say things that are not things that she would normally say, caused her to rendezvous with a near accident, which she normally wouldn't rendezvous with, but given this new vibration, so here it comes. Then she commented about what a close call it was, and even though nothing happened at that intersection, under the bridge, entering the freeway, nothing happened, she found the words that said, if that guy who did that thing that he shouldn't have been doing had hit that other car, then likely we would have been involved in something even though we were innocent. So now here she is. She was feeling it. Now there's evidence. Now she's commenting on the evidence. Now she's feeling it more. Now she parks her car innocently in a parking lot, and while she's in the grocery store, someone hits her car. So now, see what's going on. So she was feeling that way. The manifestation confirmed how she was feeling. Now she comes out, and here is something she really doesn't want. There's a girl crying. Her father is there. He's enraged. The car is smashed into her car. Now you're observing something more. Now you're observing it. Now you're having a knee-jerk response to it. In other words, it's like letting what is control how you feel. But the question is, when did it start? In other words, when did this chain that led to that start? And the bigger question that we're really wanting you to hear is, what was the chain really leading to? In other words, what did it actually lead to? Eventually, Esther felt enough discord from it. When Esther got really, really mad at that sweet little girl, that's when Esther started rethinking it, because that's not who she is and it's not what she wants. She did not want to stand in that place of blame there. So then another intention kicked in, because whenever you know what you don't want, what you do want is part of the equation too. So in this story that we're giving you, at some point along the way, Esther made a decision that she was no longer happy feeling bad. And as she visited with us about it, and we helped her to see, this is not evidence of your vulnerability, this is evidence of your invincibility. A few years ago, some physicians were coming to a seminar. They always flew. They had their own private plane. And one day, they got into their airplane. They actually were landing at the airport near where they lived, out in the desert. And they misunderstood the direction of the wind and came in from the wrong direction. And their plane flipped over and caught on fire. And they'd been listening to Abraham recordings. And they asked us a week or two after, Abraham, our little girl has been listening to the recordings with us, that we create our own reality. And yet, when this has happened, she's confused. What do we tell her? Because our plane flipped over and caught on fire. None of them were hurt, just some very minor scrapes and a little bit of burn on a leg. And we said, this is not evidence of your vulnerability. This is evidence of your invincibility. Can you see what we're getting at here? In other words, who crashes a plane and walks away from it? They did. It's evidence of invincibility. And so this is the thing that we're wanting you to hear. So let's walk back through this again. First thing that happens is that you've got a feeling going on, and it doesn't matter where you got it. Esther had a feeling of vulnerability going on. It doesn't matter where she got it. The fact is, there it is, which is leading to light little experiences that are unwanted. Now, when those light little experiences that are unwanted come, she has the option of making another choice of thought. But the motivation wasn't very strong. It was easy to complain. It was easier to observe what was going on than to remember who she really is and to try to observe it through the eyes of her broader self. So she weakly observed it in a way that did not serve her. And so it's not like the universe is teaching her a lesson and saying, well, if you didn't like that, then you're really not going to like this. But it sort of plays out that way, doesn't it? So then she had a choice to think a different thought, but didn't. And so then law of attraction brings her something else that sort of matches that. What we really want you to hear in all of this is that you are always on your way to something wonderful, even when you are not enjoying where you are. Some years ago, we said it's like going through a bad neighborhood on your way to something really fun. In other words, there is always something good that is out there if you will allow yourself to live it. But the feeling of vulnerability that comes, or the feeling of unworthiness that comes, is the simple byproduct of observing what is and just taking it as reality, just taking it as a done deal, rather than saying, well, this may be what is, but I choose to see it in a slightly different way. So, at what point do you decide to turn it around for yourself? You have to decide. For Esther, she didn't turn it around when the first near miss happened. She didn't turn it around. She could have. She didn't even turn it around when the car buried its nose in her car. She didn't turn it around. She let what was happening in the moment dominate the way she felt. She felt angry. She felt blameful. She felt vulnerable. She felt like not a good deliberate creator. She let what is control that. But as she sat with that emotion for a day or two and felt the awfulness of it because it so defies who she really is and what she really knows, then she began reaching for another way to see it until she came back into her power. You see what we're getting at? You have to decide at what point you're going to come back into your power. You can't let the circumstances that are surrounding you be the basis of your vibration. That really is what deliberate creation is. If people are just walking around, and most are, observing what is and offering a vibration that matches what is, and then getting more of what is, and then saying, see, I told you, and then creating more of what is and then observing it, and creating more of what is and then observing it, and creating more of what is and then observing it, it's no wonder that in time you begin saying, I'm not powerful. Somebody else must be doing this to me because I would not do to myself these things that I do not want. But what we can feel with those like Esther and those like you, when you begin finding things that continually make you feel less than the powerful, authentic, pure, positive energy being that you are, it gets old real fast. And after a while, you begin saying, enough of this. I am determined that I am going to reclaim my power. And when you make that decision, it's always there for you, because everything that you've been living has all of this queued up, ready to deliver to you at any time. It's why you got chosen here today. In other words, the desire that you are holding, you're lighting up out there. Your desire caused a spike in your energy that was muted by your lack of ability to see who you are. But you were close enough to the clarity of who you are that you were visible in a big way to us.
I try really hard. The desire is really strong. When I do get negative emotion, it's very extremely strong. That is sort of like rage, if you know what I mean. And I try my best to just turn it the other way.
You know why? But here's the thing that we want you to acknowledge. If you sort of want something and it's sort of not happening, you feel sort of uncomfortable. If you really, really, really want something and it's really, really, really not happening, you feel really, really, really uncomfortable. So all you are expressing to us here is the power of your desire, to which you have more ability to align than you are giving yourself credit. In other words, you can do, and so can Esther, you can do a better job of lining up with who you are, moment by moment by moment. But here's the thing. When it's little things, there's no motivation, so you don't do it. It isn't until something bigger happens that it gets your attention and makes you acknowledge, I can do a better job with aligning with who I am. There isn't anything that you want that you can't have. If this time-space reality has the wherewithal to deliver the desire to you, it has the wherewithal to deliver the full-blown manifestation of it with no exception. You will not be denied anything that you desire. So if we were standing in your physical shoes, we would say things to ourselves such as, I'm just defining who I am and what I want. And I'm going to do a better job of holding myself in happy alignment with it as I go along. There's nothing wrong with rage. It's just simply an indicator that you're not in the vicinity of what you want. But as you stand in that rage, all that happens, as you stand in that rage longer, all that happens is that you parlay stronger and stronger desires. So you know what you don't want and you know what you do want, but you don't line up with it. And so you keep observing what is, which you don't want, which causes you to launch more rockets, but you don't line up with it. But you keep observing what is, which causes you to launch more rockets, but you don't line up with it. So the crevasse, the variance, the gap between where you are and who you've become gets stronger and stronger. And that's that tension that you are defining as rage. You gotta turn in the direction of what you want. And we want to help you do that by convincing you that you can have all of that. You've just got to let go of the conversations about it not happening.
I started a business 7 years ago, and it was so successful that I wanted to expand that business. And a best friend and business partner invested in my business, and that second business financially has failed. And I feel such tremendous pressure because of all of the weight and pressure I've given to her life. And I'm trying to come out of it, but I constantly feel her disappointment and her sadness and her stress and her pressure.
Then you can't get out of it.
And then I feel guilty for feeling okay.
You can't get to where you want to be from there.
Right.
Next.
I need guidance.
Well, the guidance is you got to feel different. And the guidance is you can't feel different while you're looking right at that. But you're sort of inclined to look at that. And we spend all day, every day, and all of the words that we offer, wanting you to realize that you don't have to look at that. And so that doesn't have to control the way you feel. But when that's what your habit of thought is, then there's a momentum going there. And so you've got enough momentum because you're human, and most people are focusing upon what is right now, and the entirety of your vibrational attitude about this is based upon what you're looking right at, compounded by somebody else who's looking at it too. So what this scenario says to us, the way you explained it was really helpful, is that when you were standing in your own vibration, that you were more in sync with your desire. There was less resistance within you. And it's because what you would call the risks were all yours, and you weren't that worried about it. And it started small and it grew larger and larger. You didn't get your business bigger than your business. And so it was more of a joyful journey. And then when it got bigger, because there wasn't enough momentum in the vibration of it to attract the partner that was equivalent to yours, you attracted someone who introduced resistance where it hadn't been before, because there was more risk, because it was that person's money. And so as that person felt more risk, then that person offered influence that you fell under. Now, you didn't need to, and it doesn't matter that you did, but it does matter that you don't continue to be under that influence. You got to get out from under that influence, and you can't get out from under it by wishing that it hadn't happened, because it has. The laws of the universe aren't going to change or adjust themselves to the outcome that you want. The laws of the universe are going to work the way the laws of the universe work, and you have to work within those, which means you have to get out from under the influence of worry and maybe even blame and certainly guilt, and get back under the influence of exhilaration about your business. If it worked once, it can work again. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for something to be viable and successful in one regard and then not in another. And it's because there are other factors that are part of the equation that you must understand what they are. Whether it's been the influence of success is the dominant influence, or the influence of worry are the dominant influence. So what are you going to do? What do you do when you're standing right in the middle of it? Wouldn't it be nice to start all over again, because then you know better? Well, here's the truth of it all. You are always starting all over again. In every moment, you are new unto the universe. In every moment, you can establish a new point of attraction. You could meditate and clear your vibration and be new like you were in the very first place. But most humans don't do that. It's like our friend said, you get new and then you get old again. You get new, you get forward looking, and then you get past looking.
I feel guilty for doing what you're saying. That's what I feel, and my business partner would never intentionally want to make me feel that way.
Well, stop
that's what
saying
happens.
that. Just saying that to us. We're just going to read this clearly, and we want to really give you something because everybody relates to it in one way or another. But we really want you to hear this. You stated that with such fervor and factualness. I feel guilty. Almost as if you were making an unequivocal statement that the universe needed to adjust to. And the universe is responding to that. So a better statement would be, I feel guilty and I don't mean to. And I feel guilty and I want to let that go. And I feel guilty and I know the disadvantage of feeling guilty. And I feel guilty because it is my old habit. And I feel guilty, but I can produce new habits. And I feel guilty, but guilt is not natural to me. And I know that what guilt is my opinion is different than the opinion of my inner being. I know that my inner being's lined up with the success of my business, and I'm lined up with the worry of my business. And so this guilt doesn't feel good to me. I feel guidance. I don't feel guilty. I feel guidance. I feel guidance that this thought is not helping. In fact, I feel so much guidance that this thought isn't helping that I'm not going to think that thought as much anymore. Oh, well, maybe I will, but I don't want to. Well, at least I'm not going to speak about it. Well, maybe I will if there's enough momentum. But I'm going to look for moments when I'm not flowing that way. In fact, I'm going to focus upon some other things. I'm going to find satisfaction in other areas of my life. I'm going to look for so many things to feel satisfied about that this guilty subject just doesn't have enough airtime within me. I'm not going to let myself feel guilty as much as I've been feeling guilty. It's sort of my propensity to feel guilty. I sort of wear the badge of honor about how guilty I feel. I've been a sort of sacrificial person, and feeling guilty somehow has been working for me out there in the physical, mundane, mediocre, failing world. But I realize that now I'm playing in a different game. I've got success going for me. And so I feel guilty about feeling guilty is because your guidance lets you know that feeling guilty is not productive. So you don't feel guilty about your guilt. You feel aware that it isn't helping. You don't feel guilty about your guilt. You feel aware that you're not moving in the direction of your desire, that you're not in sync with your desire, that you're out there on the raw and ragged edge, and that you're not allowing the influence of source energy to affect you in that moment. That's all. That's all.
So what happens when you can't pay your bills and creditors are calling and there are all these things that are happening?
Do you see what you're doing? Do you see what you're doing? You are trying to support the guilt that you feel.
Well, no, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to say that I know I meditate every morning. Thank you very much.
Blah, blah, blah.
All
blah,
of this.
blah, blah. You keep talking about what you do not want, and you can't get around that. You got to stop doing that. So what happens when I can't pay my bills, you say? We say, first of all, don't talk about it. So I've got this reality, Abraham, that I have to face. I have to face this reality. This is a reality that I am facing. And we say, yeah, we know that. But you could, you're not even trying yet, you could find a different vibration about it. Try right now, if you can. Ask the question, and then you answer it.
How do I not carry the weight?
No, that's not the question. The question is, what do I do when I can't pay my bills? That was the question.
What do I do when I can't pay my bills?
Now answer it.
Pay what I can.
Keep trying.
Work harder. That's been what I've been doing, though.
That's all right, but keep trying. You're under the influence of that, so that's all right. What do I do when I can't pay my bills? Just hear this. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? If you can't pay your bills, what are you going to do? You're going to not pay your bills, and you're going to have a choice about how you feel about that. So you can not pay them, and you can blame her, you can blame you can blame whatever you want to blame and get nowhere. Or you can not pay your bills, and you can remember better times, or you can lean toward things getting better. You can't control the current reality because the current reality had momentum coming in. It had momentum coming in, and it is what it is. So you can't control what that is, but you can control, or let's say curb, your response to what is. So I can't pay my bills, but I could meditate. I'm too worried to meditate. I can't clear my mind. I need to work harder instead of meditate. Just keep perpetuating that. But I can't pay my bills, but I can find satisfaction. I can't pay my bills, but I really appreciate this girl that came to play with me. I can't pay my bills. Now, it's even better if you get off that subject altogether. There's this subject that has me worried, and there's all these wonderful things. I can go to Asheville. I can spend some time with fun people. I can, against all odds, get in the hot seat and have a conversation with infinite intelligence. I can find the vibration of it. I can acknowledge the reality of the vortex. I can acknowledge that my business, our business, because our business is bigger than it has ever been because the contrast has made it bigger. And I can acknowledge that when I line up with what it is, it will be more than it has ever been, which was the whole point of the expansion that I asked for. I wasn't wrong to ask for expansion in the way that I did because expansion was inevitable. I asked for expansion, and I got expansion in that we spread out a little bit, but I also got expansion in that it introduced resistance into my equation that caused me to launch more rockets of desire, and my vortex version of my business is expanded, and that's a good thing, not a bad thing. And I can catch up with that. And it doesn't really matter what's going on right now. I'm stable enough. I know what to do. We can work hard enough to keep ourselves stable. We don't have to lose this business. I know what to do. I know what to do, but at the same time that I am working maybe longer and harder and with more clarity, I'm also finding vibrational stability with this bigger business. I can't give up on my dream, but I could give up resistance. We're not asking you to give up your business. We're asking you to give up your resistance. We're asking you to give up your propensity to complain about it or to try to justify where you are by talking about what's going wrong. You see? Everybody, relative to everything that they have, is in a place where it is improving. And it doesn't matter how successful you feel that you are. You could mess it up with a thought or you could enhance it with a thought. Doesn't matter whether you're a billionaire or a millionaire or whether you're just starting with a fledgling business or whether you're talking about a relationship or anything else. It could get bigger. It already is bigger. You could lean toward the bigness of it or you could lean away from it. You get to choose all of that. And the reason we're talking so strong with you is because, first of all, you represent everybody else because everybody's doing a little bit of that, but you have a propensity to want to explain it like it is. That's what's going on with you right now. And there's enough about what is that is satisfying. If you got to explain it like it is, then at least look for the things that are satisfying as you explain them. You hear all of this, aren't you?
Yes.
So the universe won't let you down, and your inner being has your back, and your inner being knows what you want, and your inner being knows how to get you from where you are to where you want to be. But you've got to listen or feel for the impulses, and you can't get there while you're talking about what is. And it's not because Source isn't telling you. We're speaking to you as directly and as loudly as is appropriate under these conditions, and you still can't actually hear us, not quite yet. But it isn't because we're not giving it everything we've got, and it isn't because we don't know about the absolute success and magnitude of your business. It's because you've got yourself in a vibrational place that is temporary. And every day from this moment forward, you're going to release more of that and allow more of this. It's just the way that it all works. And there's going to be a time, not very far from now, that you are going to enjoy or feel satisfaction over the desire that's in your belly, even when it hasn't manifested. Most people have a hard time with that at first because you want to see it and then you want to have an emotional response to it. We want you to use your mind to accomplish an emotional response of satisfaction, and then you'll see it. And we never say anything that we don't know to be. We're not pretending that there's something there for you. We know that there is. It's yours to allow or to disallow. And when you disallow, you see, all that guilt and all that pain and all that discomfort that you were explaining to us isn't about the actual business itself. It's about you pinching yourself off from your own desire. Now we're going to give you the most important statement of the entire weekend. Ready for it? You are the creation, not your business.
Yeah.
You're creating yourself to be the receiver. The business is just the excuse you use to create you. And that's why it's so upsetting when it feels like it's not working. It feels like you're failing, and you're not. You're just step one-ing a little longer than is comfortable. That's all. That's all that it is. And can you imagine the euphoria you feel when you meditate and release that for a moment, even before the business changes at all? You're going to have lots of really good feeling moments, and nothing is going to be visible to you yet because it's on its way down. But when you realize that you're the creation, then the moments that you feel good for me. And someone says, oh, you make a bunch of money today? No, I just feel good. Why? Because I aligned with source energy. What good is that? It's everything. It's everything, because my connection to source energy is the propagation, the creation, the allowance of me. I'm the creator of a business. The business is irrelevant. I'm the creator of the creation. I'm the creator of the creation. I'm the creator and I'm the creation. And the business is just something I focus upon.